except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn, because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, let's go ahead and bring it on in. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is, you know it, one street over. What's going on one street over from where you live? And this is the fourth Wednesday of the month. And so that means it's time for us to talk to our VSO office. Scott Irwin's in the house. We had to track down Joyce Gentry. She's on her way. We were trying to send, bless her, she's been in here before. Joyce, you know where you're going. But anyway, we were a little bit late opening the microphones because we had to get her some directions. So Joyce is coming in here, and I guess we're going to be talking about Gold Star families. Mm-hmm. Joyce is the probably the one who rings the bell the loudest because she's experienced that. And then Scott and I are sitting here talking about building homes in Robertson County. And so Trent, he's going to be giving you a call. I gave him your number because I said, if anybody knows about all the ins and outs, it's Trent Cobb. So I gave him and I got to call you too, Trent, because man, we're going to be coming up on the fair here before we blink because school starts 2 weeks from today. We will have a full day of school with the kiddos. I know the kids are going, oh, shut up, Miss Vivio. But I'm still in summer mode, my ball caps and my t-shirts. And I just refuse to fix my hair until I have to go back to school. Scott's looking at me like, anyway, what's going on, brother?
You know, busy, always.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's not the office appointments or emails, it's outreach, just trying to get the word out, letting veterans and families know we're here.
Well, you know, and we won't be specific on names, but you were sharing with me as, we were kind of talking as you came in about some friends of ours that you were able to help after somebody had passed away. And that just warms my heart because wasn't that long ago we didn't have that resource here, and they would just be kind of going, I don't know what to do, you know. And I appreciate so much the work you guys do, so much the work you do, because it's so necessary, and it's got to be fulfilling. It's got to be fulfilling.
It is. It is. Yeah. I know you and a lot of the listeners remember Terry Wilson.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go visit with Terry tomorrow. I said, Terry, I just want to sit on your front porch and just talk.
Tell him I said hi.
I will. And so gonna go visit with Terry, and he's the one, him and Wayne Duggar and Dan Riley years ago, and they kind of stood up the Veteran Service Office in Greenbrier, and I was lucky enough to get to learn with Terry and how to put arguments together and claims together and what works and what doesn't, and over the years, I've been doing this almost 10 years, just kind of learned, how to do things and get results. So,
well, and do you have the numbers? Because what is the dollar figure that comes into the county now for veterans? It's astronomical.
It is. So in fiscal year 2024, that's the VA's most recent, we call it GDX report, which is a geographical distribution report. Robertson County, about 4,100 veterans, brought in just over $57 million in 1 year, and that's through disability compensation, pension, dependency compensation, like what we're going to talk a little bit about this morning with Ms. Joyce. When our spouse, if there's a surviving spouse, depending on how the veteran passes and what's on the death certificate, we try to get that spouse benefits. Our primary goal for me when my veteran is surviving is getting them where they should be, getting them squared away. And then I've learned over the many years to prep my spouse, and I'll tell them, hey, look, Mr. James he's got disabilities that are related to his service of A, B, and C. And if something happens to him, I try to make very clear they're aware of what needs to be on that death certificate, because that death certificate drives benefits.
Okay.
And, and that's the dependency compensation that makes up part of that $57 million that we help bring in.
Right. And Joyce is here now. And Joyce, you look lovely as always. Now, that microphone needs to be in front of you, or you in front of that microphone talking into it. And just there you go. Perfect. And Joyce is here. Joyce is her husband passed because of his service-related illnesses. And so you are part of the Gold Star world, Gold Star spouse. And you can, I think, attest absolutely to the need of getting with the VSO office and making sure you get these ducks in a row, because it's a game changer, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. I was one of the lucky ones because I always went with Mike to his doctor's appointments, and the doctor there told me what needed to happen. Right. So I was able to get my benefits, but it amazes me just about every day. A spouse will say, well, I didn't know that I would qualify for anything. And so it's just, Scott and I have talked a lot about how we can get out there, how we can reach them, because if they don't get one of the diagnoses that they need on the death certificate, then it can take months and months. Yeah. Some doctors just kind of dig their heels in the sand and they don't want to change it. If they've put one thing, they don't want to change to something else. So it's kind of hard when you've got a spouse that's in the middle of losing their veteran to talk about that kind of stuff, but they really need to know. Right. And so I try to just go ahead and tell them. Yeah, and just make sure they understand on the front. There's so much that you can do proactive to make sure that this stuff, and I know y'all said during COVID you had a really tough time because they were putting COVID on these death certificates, and it was but they had cancer or they had something else that was absolutely, if it hadn't been for the cancer, then COVID probably wouldn't have been that, devastating to them. And so I know I heard you guys talk a lot about that, about having to correct that. And that I know several servicemen that were already dealing with illnesses, and maybe we lost them during COVID, but that not because of COVID, but because they were already at they already had, something else going on. More susceptible. Yes. Underlying conditions. Exactly. I couldn't think of the word. That was it. But so what would you say to people? I mean, I know you've got a couple of things coming up. Do you have some events coming up or something? Did you have something specifically you needed to talk about? I don't want us to forget it. I don't want us to put that, aside. But so what have you got coming up, and just how people can, let's go ahead and tell them how they can get a hold of you right now, Scott. Yes, so if we've perked your interest and you're like, man, I know somebody that needs that, let's go ahead and make sure that they have that information, because we're going to be limited on our time today because the way the calendar fell, we had the first was on a Wednesday. So the mayor and alderman meeting for the city was last night instead of last week. So we got Ryan Martin coming in here at 7:30. Y'all knew that, right? So we got to move. So that's why I'm saying I want to make sure we get this in here. How can they get in touch with you, Scott? So our office is over in the Robertson County Plaza. We're right across the hall from the county mayor. And our office number, 5 days a week, 8 a.m. to 4:30, is 615-384-6506.
and 615-384-6506. Once you come into the office and we get to meet you, I know Abigail and I both were very responsive for email. And so a lot of times we have, veterans out of county, out of state. So if there are questions that you've got just in general and your brother lives in Virginia, give me a call. We'll talk about things, how we can help. For a lot of reasons, certain counties lock down their services to just their county. Maybe they're low on service officers and they have 20,000 veterans, so it's busy. But I have never done that, and I don't have any plans to do that. I don't want veterans and families missing out on benefits that they because our county is full, we can't help you. I'm not going to do that. Right. So you might have to wait a week or two. But we're gonna get you in and see what we can do.
I love that, and I've referred people out of county to you because I hear all kinds of stories. Now, my veteran, my kid, he fortunately hooked up with a good VSO office and has never had need. He's been they've been real responsive for him, the ones he's worked with. But I know so many that have not had that experience, and because you guys are top. I mean, y'all are best ranked in the state, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't y'all like number one or
number six? Number six out of 95 counties.
I was going to say, but when do you get those new rankings and stuff? Because I expect y'all to be number one eventually.
That GDX report has been that is my report card.
Okay.
And when I started with Terry Wilson in 2019, I think we were at $19 million. And this most recent, it was $57 million. That's
crazy.
So awesome. That's my report card. That says what we're doing, and it's working. Yep. And so probably August, September, the new GDX will come out, and I'm looking forward to seeing what those numbers are.
Absolutely. Because do you get credit for the ones you help out of county? Probably not. Huh?
Not usually.
Yeah.
We do a monthly report to the county commissioners, and we try to put some wins on there for the county commissioners to look at, and trying to get them more aware of what we're doing, what's going on, and some of the big cases that came through the office.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get them more involved.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible when you see the effect that it's having. But we want to specifically talk about reminding you, if you are a Gold Star family, if you're already there or if you see it anticipating, you need to get in touch with Joyce. Joyce, you're there to help folks out. And you've got an event here. Get your ducks in a row. What is this right here?
So this Get Your Ducks in a Row, Miss Joan Patterson from Austin and Bell in Greenbrier came to me a couple months ago, and she said, Scott, what can we do? What can we put together to be proactive, to let families know? I tell veterans and families all the time in the office, so often we're behind the eight ball. A spouse comes in, I just lost my husband last week. What do I do?
Yeah.
And so I am really big on educating, before something happens. What has to be lined up? What do we need to do? Who do we need to call? And so this Get Your Ducks in a Row is part of that initiative that Ms. Joan Patterson is going to be at the American Legion in Greenbrier on August the 15th at 11:30 a.m. That is going to be right after our monthly VFW meeting at the Legion. The VFW meeting is usually 9:30 to 10:30. So this Get Your Ducks in a Row is going to be at 11:30 at the Legion in Greenbrier. Of course, it's no cost. The only reason there's an RSVP on here is for lunch. Lunch is going to be provided. It's going to be short and sweet, hour long, maybe 30 minutes for Q&A. But it's going to cover things like, what is covered? What does Medicare cover? Cremation, your wishes, a funeral or cremation, other nursing homes, eligibility requirements, Social Security benefits, veterans benefits. So a lot of veterans misunderstand that should something happen to them, everything's done. They're 100% on their disability, and that is not the case. So there are still some expenses. I know we lost our son unexpectedly several years ago, and for a wake and cremation, it was like $8,000.
Wow.
There's some expenses involved. The VA is not covering.
Right.
So,
and there's lots of men that don't include their wives. They don't They don't talk about their service. They don't talk about what happened. They go to their VFW or American Legion meetings. They go to their doctors, but their wives are just kind of in the dark. And they really need to educate their wife. The wife needs to know where their DD 214 is, what their wishes are, and those type of things. They need to know what their conditions are. And if it could be so much easier, but so many of that generation, they just don't want to talk about it. And so the wives are in the dark.
Well, and like you said, and it's gotten better with some of the younger ones, I think, because I'm talking to my son Jedediah and his generation. They're more proactive when they go in, seems to be. I mean, he got advised, the minute he hit the ground running in the Army, hey, you need to make sure that you do everything right and report everything, because should you come out with some kind of issue, you need to make sure you've got he had that advice on the front end, which I think didn't used to happen. Didn't used to happen. They took better care of him. And especially after he came back from his deployment and things like that, he had a lot of conversations. But they didn't used to do that. And that's only been a recent thing that they're like, hey, you need to understand they're taking better care of us now. So you need to know how things go, but you don't always end up in a county that has the resources. So, but now I love that you're calling it getting your ducks in a row, because that's just exactly the truth. You just, as you get older, you got to, not necessarily even older, because I'm sitting here as I'm listening to you, I wonder if my daughter-in-law knows all that she should about, my son's service. Because they're young. They don't think about things,
No.
So you don't think about it when you're younger, but you need to.
Yeah.
And so, that's a really good point. And, but it's the kind of things, like you said, you don't want to think about, but man, you're going to be so much better off if you'll just, get your ducks in a row, like you said. Now, when is this event again?
This is going to be on Saturday, August the 15th at 11:30.
Okay. And it'd be right after that
right after the VFW meeting.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. And do you want to give them your number? And I've got this little flyer here you can get from Joyce that talks all about Gold Star families that you can reach out to. Joyce, do you want to give them your number?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. You want to go ahead and give it?
My number is 615-519-2123.
And do it one more time.
And 615-519-2123. And the email address is capital T HEGENTRY, the number 2, @gmail.com. And we already have a Gold Star Spouses unit set up for Springfield, Robertson County. It's our national office does all that for us. They set up the 501c3. So we know we've got probably 45, 50 veterans, because we've done a lot of them's honors at their funeral. I mean, we know they're out there, and we're not just a bunch of go to a meeting once a month kind of people. I mean, there's so many things we can do to honor our husband's memory, to support each other. And then, of course, the national group does, go to Washington and try to help get our benefits improved. I think all of us that are, that I know are just, we feel very fortunate that we do have something that the government does help take care of us. But so many women don't know that. So we can, be a support system. I could see us doing little ceremonies at the Gold Star Family Marker by the Orange Heart Memorial. So we have a Gold Star marker, we have a Blue Star marker, and we have the Orange Heart all there together. And actually, September 27th is Gold Star Mother's Day.
Okay.
So in our auxiliary, we are planning to try and do a little ceremony up at the marker.
And it is
recognize
what they have done up here at Memorial Gardens for the just to honor the veterans is just beautiful. I mean, if you've not been up you can't miss the memorial if you're just driving down 41. But that's where we hold our events and things like that. And when did the Gold Star Memorial go up? We've had that for a while now. It's been good 5-6 years, I think.
22.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
I think, yes.
Yeah, so it's been there for a minute. So
we also have the markers on the road.
Yeah.
That that the city helped us to get that. So we have both an Orange Heart Metal Foundation
Yeah.
street sign, and we have a Gold Star family.
And if for those of you who don't know, and I can't imagine people don't know what we're talking about when we say Gold Star, but we're talking about families that have lost someone due to service. And so, I mean, if you see somebody that has something to do with Gold Star, know that they have a loved one that paid the ultimate price. And you need to be ultimately respectful. And just to let you know, and I would think most people would know what that is, but sometimes they don't. You gotta be surprised.
They really don't.
Yeah. So, what are we missing, Scott? What else we got going on at the VSO office before we run out of time?
So with this information, if you're curious or you missed the number, just call our office. Call our office. We can get you in touch with Miss Joyce. I learned in the military over 20 years there's power in numbers, and speaking to the Capitol Hill numbers. And so when you're part of an organization that has 100,000, 200,000, 1 million people, that you have a bigger voice.
Yep.
And so that's part of what this Gold Star is about. You have a bigger voice the more members you've got. And, dependency compensation just, a few years ago did not exist. It was not a benefit that was there for widowed spouses that are left financially to carry the load. And so that's part of what, the Gold Star and these benefits we're pushing, because it seems like, our government has a lot to juggle, but we don't want to lose traction, and so they start talking about taking benefits away. That's part of this voice. We need to step up and say, hang on a second, there's a lot of other ways we could probably be a little more fiscal and save.
Right.
So, but if you have any questions, we can certainly put you in touch with Ms. Joyce, what to do, how to do, why it's important, hopefully come out on August the 15th. I've been trying to hit all of the nursing homes in Robertson County, making sure they're aware, advertise as much as we can. I'd love for the Legion to be full and us to have to schedule a second one.
Right.
Because you don't want to be, behind in the know and then wondering, what do I do? So let's get that squared away now.
I have somebody that I know that just recently lost their spouse and did not know that their spouse was a Vietnam vet. Now there was an accident but I got to thinking, I thought, I'll bet you there are things that she's not aware of.
Yeah.
And because her husband served in Vietnam, and I want to reach out to her and say, have y'all got all this in her, because I didn't realize he'd served. And so, but there may be some things there that she's not aware of. I've had that conversation several times with folks back home where I don't know if they just don't have a great VSO office, but I can remember being out with my mom and seeing veterans and always ask them if they knew Kenneth, because that was my friend that was killed in Vietnam. And a lot of them did. And then I start talking to them because it seems like 9 times out of 10, they've got something going on. One of the things that is service, what do you
Presumptive.
Yes. And so I'll start talking to them. I'm like, do you have a good VSO office? I mean, do you know there's benefits for you? Are you aware of the Gold Star? Or not the Gold Star, but the Orange Heart medals and all this? And they don't have a clue. And that, like you said, you're stunned when you find out people don't know this stuff. And so we've got to just keep banging the drum and handing out cards and doing all the things to make sure the word's out. But go ahead.
That's what we'll keep doing.
Yeah, I got you.
It can be a little, let us help you. There's a lot involved. You don't have to do it on your own. That's why we're here.
Right.
We're here to advocate on the veteran family's behalf. So whatever we can do to help, we'll do.
Well, in the last couple of minutes, anything that we need that we haven't covered, Joyce, that you want to?
Just not to trying to drum up more business for Scott, but just on a personal note. I mean, my daughter lost her dad, my first husband, from Agent Orange related illnesses, and he never talked to his wife, and so consequently he wasn't buried in the military cemetery where he wanted to be. He still doesn't have a marker. They didn't know things about the benefits, and she said her stepmom had said, wow, I wish we had known this, because there's some things here that would have helped us,
Right.
While he was still living.
Right.
So, and he had a VSO a distant family member, but they didn't know.
They didn't know.
And they didn't tell them.
So you just
So Scott helped them.
get your ducks in a row, as they say.
Yeah.
Get your ducks in a row. And before we wrap it up, I know that Ryan is here from the city, but we want to remind them when you're in the office and how they can get in touch with you, the different office hours. And I know y'all have, Wednesdays is without an appointment. You can come in, just kind of go over all that with them.
Yes, ma'am. So we're Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30. Like you said, Wednesdays is walk-in, no appointment required. I'd recommend you get there early if you're going to come in on a Wednesday. Whatever paperwork you think might be applicable to benefit we're looking at, bring it with you. If I need it, I'll make a copy. I'd rather have it and not need it. So, and then our office is staffed Monday through Friday. Like I said, 8 a.m. to 4:30. We do have a couple of days a week where Abigail and I alternate working from home. A lot of the claims we do sometimes take a lot of hours and digging into to make happen. So that's when we can get that work done. But our office is staffed Monday through Friday.
You'll find Gwen, my friend.
That's it.
Gwen will be in there, so taking care of it, and it's just a great staff. It really is. It's just a great resource, a great help, and it's right there in the city, across from the city building, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was Mayor Vogel in his offices. So just reach out to him, reach out to Joyce, reach out to Scott, and make sure that you've got your ducks in a row and be a part of this on August 15th, right?
That's it.
11:30. Anything we're missing?
Right, and call me if you would be interested in learning more about the Gold Star spouses.
Very good. Go ahead and give the VSO office number twice before we wrap up.
Yep. So our phone number here at the VSO office in Robertson County, 615-382-6506. That's 615-382-6506. Our address is 502 8th Avenue East, and we're just right across the hall from the main Robertson County City building in the plaza.
Outstanding. Reach out to them, guys. There's a lot of folks that could use their help, and I know you got friends out there that could too. So good to see you guys again.
Thank you.
Sorry we having to cut it short, but the way the week fell, it's just we got Ryan coming on in here. So thank you guys so much. And you want me to hang on to some of this stuff? Or
You can, yes.
okay, good deal. Yeah, let me hang on to this, and we'll keep talking about it. I got a flyer right here, and or we can hand a few of those out. So if you need this stuff, guys, get with me, and we'll talk about it. But we'll talk about the getting your ducks in a row too as we move forward.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, and I'll see you next month.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see somebody from the office next month, right?
That's it.
All right, good deal. Scott Irwin and Joyce Gentry for the Veteran Service Office. Ryan Martin's going to make his way in from the city office here in Springfield. And as they're making their way in and we're shuffling the seats, we're going to say, be sure and check out Valor Mortgage. Chris Armtrout and the experienced loan officers at Valor, they are there to help you find the right solution for your life, your budget, and your goals. They have, first time I met Chris was with Scott. He came in to talk about VA loans. Well, and I thought that that's all they did. Well, that is not what they do. VA loans, yes, up one side and down the other, but they also have FHA loans. They have conventional and jumbo financing, and all the tools that you need to get to the closing table. They are not just in the business of mortgage. They're in the business of making homeownership possible for everyone, whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, investing in your future, whatever it might be. Valor Mortgage is ready to serve. You do not want to be just a number. You want to have everything you need to make sure that you get your needs met, and that is what they're in the business of. So you can reach out to them today. They have an office in downtown that they can set up a meeting with you. 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or you can go to valor.mortgage, get pre-approved today, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. Buy with confidence, buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911, equal housing lender, subject to credit approval, rates and terms subject to change without notice, and not a commitment to lend. Let them know U-Turn sent you. Hello, Mr. Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're coming up on the end of summer.
That's right.
You know, I tell everybody that I'm ready to get back to school, but I've still got so much to do. I cannot believe, I come in here ready with my work stuff on, because the minute I leave here, I go home to try to get some things done and all that. But I'm going to have to start looking like a teacher again here in just under 2 weeks. So
Seems like the summer went by very quickly.
yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
They always told me, they said, that it's almost like a long weekend. And once you get into it, it just goes so quick.
Yeah.
If you stay busy, it certainly does. But we're
Right.
ready to get back to school. School buses will be on the road. 2 weeks from today will be the first full day of school.
2 weeks from today.
Now, the kids will have a half day 2 weeks from yesterday.
Okay.
So, and then, of course, then we're out on Thursday for the election. So we're going to we'll have the first Monday is teacher professional development. Then you got a half day for kiddos, and then you've got Wednesday's full day. Then we're out on Thursday, and then we're back in it and normal routine on that Friday. So there you go.
It seems like, I mean, the summers just when I was a kid seemed so much longer. And I don't know that in actuality they were, maybe by a few days, because I guess the schedule's kind of compressed a little bit from later May to early August, I guess, over the years.
Well, especially when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, we were still in rural farming mode and people needed to be out to work in the fields. And I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, you could take time off from school to strip tobacco. I mean, because I grew up I was in the 70s is when I was in high school. So it was a different world.
Right.
And I think we had 3 months off in the summer.
Oh, wow.
But we did not have spring break. I never had a fall break. Now, fall break is like, what is that? Yeah. We might be lucky if we got off. I think I remember us getting off on Thursday and going back to school on Friday, Thanksgiving, not even being off on that Friday.
Wow.
And I may be wrong. Some of my friends could correct me, but I don't think we got that Friday off. I think we got Thanksgiving off and we were back in school.
Interesting.
And then we had just a couple of weeks. We had a couple of weeks at Christmas. That was a good break. Mm-hmm. We might have a day or two around Easter, but never a full spring break. I don't remember us having that.
I don't remember having a full spring break either. I remember the Easter time period, getting a Good Friday and maybe having the Monday off. Yeah. A fall break. I think maybe when I first heard of a fall break, and I have a hard time remembering too, but I want to say it was like a Thursday and Friday, and that was your fall break. Like you got a Thursday, Friday, and but now it's so. I guess it makes sense. There's more baked in days in the school year, and the summer is a little shorter. That makes sense.
Well, you figure out in my kids, my grandkids that are out in the Mount Juliet area, they get 2 weeks for fall break, but they go back, and I guess maybe they stay later. I don't know, but you can talk to Dr. Weeks. You have so many days that the state says you have to be in school.
Okay.
And each school board can arrange that however they decide to.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
They go into the school board and they've already approved the calendar for next year. For 20, so we're in 26, 27. They've already approved the calendar for 27, 28.
Okay.
If I think it's like on the calendar and you've got those dates if you want to set trips, because some families, plan trips way ahead of time and things like that. So it's quite interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. See what you learn when you tune into One
That's
Street
exactly
Over.
Right.
There you go.
Tune into the show, you'll always learn something.
Absolutely.
I show up and I learn something, right?
There you go. Absolutely. But, and it's so funny. I did not forget this time that y'all are on the later side because the first being on Wednesday. And that's why I told them at the VSO office, I said, you're only going to have 30 minutes because I said, this is one of those wacky months, where we have the meeting was later.
It was,
because of the way the dates fell.
Where I'm actually in on the fourth Wednesday instead of the third Wednesday.
The third Wednesday, as you typically are. Right. So there you go.
And I thought about it, I think about 8 o'clock that morning last Wednesday, and I was like, well, I guess it's too late now. I'm sure maybe she knew. So
I remembered. Yeah. I remembered this time.
It seems like we've had a lot of those, the last year or so where it's fallen different. It's been a handful of them. So
and it means we've got like a whole extra week of broadcasts next week that we don't normally have. We've got a longer week. I mean, it just seems like we have more things to fill in. So a little programming note: Caleb Stratton was not available. He normally would be here Monday. He was out. He was on vacation, so he'll be here this coming Monday. We're going to be talking to him. So we're kind of juggling everything around, but it's all good.
Absolutely,
and getting ready to get back to school. So
yeah.
All right. So what did y'all do at the meeting last night?
Let's talk about the storm last night too.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Middle Tennessee kind of got hit hard, and we were no different last night. We had. And I think Robertson County as a whole, from the phone calls that I had last night and the information that I was given, lots of trees down. Mm-hmm. We did have some power outages, and I'm not aware this morning of any injuries in Springfield that I was made aware of last night or have heard this morning. It doesn't mean that there wasn't any, but I know we had some structural damage to homes from trees and limbs and things like that. So I hope that we did not end up having any injuries, but that was a pretty rough thunderstorm that I think the weather forecast had talked about potential for severe weather, and it kind of came through and dumped a lot of rain in a short amount of time. And, so that created some low spots where I think we had 3 low areas that kind of water came over the roadway. I know there were some other roads in the county that had it pretty bad too. And, anyway, we just hope everybody stayed safe last night, and thanks to our crews last night for getting out in this and clearing the trees out of the roadways, getting power back on, and that sort of thing. Those are the people that they get out, and I think we had a gas leak somewhere. So those are the people that have to get out and go take care of business in it. So kudos. I just want to say thanks to our staff for and everybody, all the first responders and emergency personnel and utility personnel that worked last night to make sure that service and roadways and everything was open for people, and that people stay safe.
Absolutely. I don't think the lightning, there were so many lightning strikes. We had, we were watching it, and my husband has a little app that gives us lightning strikes that we use because of baseball, because the kids, when they're playing baseball, you have to know where the lightning strikes are. And we were watching it, and I just couldn't get over the lightning strikes. And because it came across us, and then it was headed down to my kiddos that live out in Mount Juliet and then out in the Nolensville area, and we're like, buckle down, because here it comes, and it is a lot of lightning. And they said they had the same thing. It was an electric storm. So I hope none of you are out running around. And you got to be careful in that stuff, guys.
You do. Yeah,
you got to be careful.
You really do. It's a situation like that, a complete flash flood like that. That's not just rain over several hours. That was, and I haven't seen confirmed reports. I've heard some early numbers, but a couple of inches of rain in 30 minutes is definitely a flash flood. It's going to overpower creeks, going to overpower storm drains. There's nothing that's built to handle 2 to 3 inches of rain in a 30 to 45 minute time frame, and so that's definitely a flash flood that's going to create quick problems on low-lying areas where you think, it's only been raining for a few minutes, but then you hit a low-lying area and there's water over the road so it can happen very, very quickly, and can be very dangerous.
It recedes very quickly too.
It does.
That's why they call it a flash flood.
That's right.
You do have to be careful though. Like I said, I didn't hear anything terrible happening. I know some limbs, like you said, down and things like that. We had some flooding up by where I go to church up in Madison, where some of the houses that we own right there, had some flooding in the crawl spaces and things like that because it came up so quick. Wow. But could be much worse. So
absolutely.
But and so while we're on the subject of storms, do you want to say anything about Freedom Fest or anything?
Sure.
Ryan, or not Ryan, but Terry came in and we talked a little bit about it when he was in last week. But is there anything it was just it happens.
Yeah. And it's probably it's the same thing with First Friday that we talk about. So there's a lot that goes into those events, and I'll open the window to sort of the decision-making process. We had the early storm that happened, about 4 o'clock, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 o'clock that afternoon, maybe earlier than that. I don't remember now, that came through, and we were going to be able to recover from that. We're going to get the stage dried, because when a storm's coming like that, we have to basically move everything on the stage, cover it up, and then it has to be dried and reset, right? So there's a depending on where you are in the process, there's a 1 to 2 hour, or 45 minute to an hour and a half, probably to be more accurate, 45 minute to an hour and a half time period that it would take to get it stage dried and everything set back up, right? So also the stage personnel can't work with lightning within 10-mile radius. So it's 30 minutes. Your clock resets 30 minutes after the last lightning strike within a 10-mile radius. So we're sitting in we have a little room that we kind of look at these things, and Blake Pierce, so you're familiar with, EMA director, and he's very helpful to us, very appreciative of Blake. He's kind of a meteorology guy too, and he really helps us out with that. And so once the second storm came, and a lot of lightning, a lot of electric activity with that storm, we had to evacuate the venue and get people safe. And obviously the rides can't operate, things can't operate, and we can't have music. And so kept waiting on things to push out. And then ultimately what helped us make the decision is we had more lightning strikes within, I believe it was 6:40 p.m. And we had another lightning strike that was about a half a mile away. So that reset our 30-minute clock. So that was going to be 7:10 before the stage crew could work and start drying the stage. And they need, again, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, probably at that point because of the amount of rain, closer to the hour and a half, right? To really dry the stage and get things, because you can't have people up there falling. Then we would have to open the venue, make sure that the rides could operate. So an hour and a half from 7:10, you're looking at starting music at 8:40, right?
Yeah,
so you can't.
It's just,
and that's not going to work. So we decided to just cancel the music, and the rides were going to need some time, and so we just decided that it wasn't going to be wise to reopen the venue, that we would try to hold tight to the fireworks show.
Yeah.
Of course, what happened as soon as we canceled the event is the sun came out, and it looked like we could have had a perfectly good night. Obviously, that would have been great had we had more time, right? Because we needed an hour and a half roughly, or really 2 hours, right, to get music going again. And
everything dried out.
People think, oftentimes I was talking to somebody and said, well, the sun came out and y'all could have just started the music. I was like, well, if it was only that easy, right? But there's a lot that goes into that. So it was unfortunate. We hated to cancel. We had ironically, the night before, Easton Corbin, our headliner, who was supposed to be here, had a medical situation and was not going to be able to make it. So we were kind of rearranging the musical performances a little bit. And I think we had a good night that was planned musically and for entertainment. The fireworks show wound up being okay. The fireworks show also hit some snags because they had to, I think where they had to take cover for the weather, putting everything back together was, because again, it's a pretty sophisticated pyrotechnic show. It's not some guy lighting a fuse out there, right? Yeah. It's more sophisticated than that. And so there was, I think, a couple of snags with the not unsafe issues, but some wiring. I think one particular set of shells didn't go off and had to be detonated later, and so there were some issues with that. So it was a day full of issues, but a good fireworks show nonetheless. And we apologize to everybody that didn't get to enjoy Freedom Fest.
Well, and it's like this, and there's nothing you can do about the way the weather comes in. I just hate it for everybody and all the work that you guys put into it. I know that's got to be disappointing for you guys, and I didn't know how much you wanted to talk about it because I talked a little bit about it with Buzzy and also with Terry, because they were both involved, of course, and so just kind of put a lid on that and just say, you just do what you
try
do.
Again later.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Right.
But they had the mayor and alderman meeting last night, and so let's get right into that, and then we'll pause and take our last break here in just a minute. But what all did you guys cover? Did y'all have a busy meeting?
We had a fairly busy meeting.
Okay.
This is one of those meetings last night that people really got to see the business of the city take place. There was a lot of healthy discussion last night among our board members about a couple of different issues, and that's what that's what serving in local government's all about is in an open environment, an open and transparent environment, making those decisions and deliberating those decisions, because there's the thing about local government decisions is it's not always an easy answer, right? Because you have these people over here that think, oh, this is a no-brainer, you should do this, but these people over here, say, well, I think it should be this way, right? And so deliberating and discussing those things in an open meeting. We had a pretty good crowd there last night, and obviously our meetings are live streamed, and you can go back and rewatch them if they're on YouTube, and I think there's a Facebook link out there, so you can watch them live, you can attend, or you can rewatch them later, whatever anyone's pleasure is. But we started with second reading on the data center regulations. I think we've talked about that before. We are finalized the institution of some regulations that specifically carve out data centers. We have when you have a municipal code and zoning regulations that are written in the 80s and 90s prior to the prevalence of data centers, you don't really have anything that covers something new. And so you need to continuously monitor and update your regulations. And we didn't have anything that sort of put protections in place from some of the concerns about data centers, the noise and the utility usage and all some of those things that concern people about data centers. And so we have those regulations in place now. And so that would protect residential subdivisions and residential neighborhoods from a data center. It would frankly protect a lot of things. I mean, there's utility capacity requirements, noise studies that would have to be done, a lot of hoops that one would have to jump through to locate a data center in Springfield to ensure that it didn't disrupt any element of the quality of life. So the Board of Mayor and Alderman passed that last night. We do not. I'll be clear, because I think there was a rumor I was told about that there's a data center coming to Springfield. There's not. We have absolutely no one that has called or inquired or is proposing to put a data center in Springfield. We wanted to do this before they did.
It's that preemptive stuff that we were talking about with the VSO office. Yep. You know, the things that you'd put in place to make sure it's not a problem later.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're plain and simple. So very good.
So there's no secret data center that's about to open up in Springfield next week or anything like that. That's not true. So I did that last night. Had a rezoning on Highway 41 North at the North Industrial Park on the commercial frontage there. The rezoning really just took in a little bit of land behind it that was previously zoned industrial because that particular parcel that's being carved out needs more room for the purposes of locating a memory care facility. So there's a proposed memory care facility that would come, which is something that is, I believe, a demand for here is to help folks that are in need, right? And so that's a proposed development that's on Highway 41 North, just as you go out past the Dollar General and the credit union out there. So
very good.
Had a very, very healthy discussion on our system development fees, or also known as impact fees. People call them impact fees with regard to commercial developments. There's particularly one commercial developer I know that has had trouble getting his development across the finish line due to the impact fees, and I believe he's raised that issue with several members of our Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and that discussion was held last night. So that discussion will continue next month. And as a staff, we're going to do some research. The board asked for some research last night, and we're going to conduct some research and present that data to them next month to maybe help them make an informed decision on what to do, whether to continue the path that we're on with the commercial impact fees, or lower those commercial impact fees, or whatever the case may be that the board desires to do. So that was a really good discussion last night, because it's really a balance, LaVern, of where does the burden of the cost of growth go, and how do you balance that on the current residents and current or the development, right? And so that's the purpose of impact fees, right? You place a cost that helps offset the impact to your infrastructure and to your utilities and to your roads, and that places it on the development up front, instead of your current taxpayers and ratepayers picking up that tab later, right? So it's a balance, right? I mean, and that's one of those situations I was talking about. What's the right answer? It depends on who you are. If you're a developer, then you don't think that you should. You think your position is generally you're benefiting the city and the residents by bringing a commercial development here, right? Something where they can shop and somewhere that they don't have access to presently. So you're benefiting the community. And so if there's any costs associated with that impact, it should be picked up by the people that are benefiting from it, right? And if you're a resident, you're saying, hey, you're bringing in all sorts of traffic on these roads that I've already paid for, so you need to pay for the impact of that, right? It's depending on which side of the fence you're on as to what you think the right decision is. And that's the difficult, and our elected officials, not only in Springfield, but everywhere, don't get enough credit for the decisions that they have to make. It's tough. Yeah. It's really tough because you can't please everybody, right? No. And you have to try to look at things objectively and make the best decision for the community and the quality of life. And sometimes maybe a short-term decision is not popular, right? But maybe it's for a long-term benefit, or maybe, so I give our elected officials a whole lot of credit for what they do and the service they to do what they do with a heart of service is just incredible, and I appreciate what they do. So that was a healthy discussion last night. The other major discussion we had last night was about sidewalks. This is another one.
It's one that my husband likes to have every time he comes in. Yeah, I was crying about that sidewalk in front of Springfield High School, and I know that's not your thing, but anyway, it's always a question. But go ahead. So
this is another deep issue. We have a lot of sidewalks, particularly in the historic district, that are in disrepair, right? And we have an ordinance that we don't know when it originated, but it was pretty common in Tennessee. And if I had to guess, I would say somewhere from the 50s and 60s. We know it at least dates back prior to 1981. We can trace it back at least that far, and we could archives and dig it back further. There's not really a need to. We know it's existed for 45 years. And that places the responsibility of repair and maintenance of the sidewalk on the abutting property owner. pretty common in Tennessee. I don't know how common that is in other states, because where we've seen that confusion is from folks that have moved in from other states that didn't know that the sidewalk was their responsibility. And maybe some residents out there today don't know that. We've tried to educate folks. The city of Memphis used to, I don't know if they still do, used to send out a brochure every summer to their residents that advised them of that regulation and kind of some common issues with sidewalks and some tips on how to inexpensively repair that, right?
Right.
And so, a lot of cities in Middle Tennessee particularly, and some have gotten away from it, but a lot still have that kind of ordinance. And that's the discussion that the board had last night, whether to continue that process or whether to create some happy medium where you could assist residents with sidewalk repair, or whether the city government should just take it over, altogether. And that's a difficult discussion, because then you've got the set of opinions where some people say, well, I think that residents who have sidewalks should take care of their sidewalks because I don't have sidewalks in my subdivision, right? And so since I don't have sidewalks, I don't want my property taxes to go up to pay for people that do have sidewalks, right? Because we have a lot of subdivisions in the city. We used to not require sidewalks. So tons of subdivisions and areas and neighborhoods in the city don't have sidewalks. I mean, only those, frankly, built from the 90s on are ones that do have sidewalks. And even some of those only have sidewalks on one side of the street. With the exception of the historic district, there are some old sidewalks through there. And that's where the problem really lies with this issue, is a lot of the sidewalks in the historic district are so old
that there is a lot of maintenance issues.
Obviously built prior to ADA standards and requirements, long 100 years before, and they're just in disrepair and can't be repaired. Basically, almost need to be replaced. And so that's different than someone who is living in a subdivision or a neighborhood that was built in the 90s who just really needs to seal a crack. Right. Because we're talking about $100 or so, or, to repair a section of sidewalk versus a couple $1,000s to put in a new sidewalk according to, proper standards. Right. So it was a big time discussion amongst the board last night, and that we'll gather in some data on that, and we'll revisit that again next month as well. I think the city attorney's doing some research to see what available options there are, and so that discussion will also be revisited. I would encourage anybody who has an opinion one way or the other to reach out to their alderman and share that. We had some public comment last night of a citizen in the historic district that was saying she had fallen. Right, because people like to walk, people like to get out and walk, and she had fallen because of some issues with the sidewalk. So it's definitely an issue, and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, again, another difficult issue that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen's taken up, and they deserve a lot of credit for making those difficult decisions.
I'm sure. I mean, because it's just somebody's commenting that Travis Price sidewalks were done in the 60s. Out by Travis Price, so I didn't realize that. So I can imagine. I never, until you told me that homeowners were responsible for sidewalks, I had no idea.
A lot of people don't.
I had no idea.
I had never lived inside the city limits until recently, so I've never had sidewalks, so I didn't really know that either, and it's not something that I really knew until moving inside the city limits and having sidewalks and realizing that. But it's I don't know where that originated or why it originated. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or defending it it's just that was the common regulation in in Tennessee. I think a lot of cities across the state, and again, I can't speak for any other state, and still a lot of cities. I mean, Lebanon, Columbia, Gallatin, Murfreesboro, Portland. Everybody kind of had the same ordinance. It was probably a model ordinance that was written at some point in time in the 50s or 60s that everybody adopted. And that was just kind of the collective rule. I think it's one of those, I made the point to the board last night, because I want citizens to understand that putting it on the city doesn't mean the residents aren't going to pay for the repairs anymore. Right. Residents will still pay for the repairs. They'll just pay for it differently. Right. Because if the city government's going to take care of it, it has to be through a funding mechanism, most likely property taxes. Right.
Gotcha.
And so instead of paying, $150 or $200 for the section of sidewalk that abuts your property in front of your house, you would be paying one time, you would be paying maybe $100 a year, $115, $120 a year in property taxes for the collective, right?
See, and I think that sounds like a good solution to me, but because there's going to always be homeowners that are just going to ignore the ordinance that they're supposed to take care of it.
Correct.
You're going to always have those same ones that don't cut their grass.
Right.
I mean, it's just the same thing. Let me pause and do my break here, and then we'll come back and we're going to wrap it up. Don't forget, we've got another full hour of local programming with the Go Show coming up right after this. I hope you'll stick around with us. And I want to remind you about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, our longest running full-time sponsor of this program. And I mean, you just cannot believe how well they cross their T's and dot their I's to make sure everything you need in regards to home ownership or selling your home is taken care of, and they'll even help you become a realtor if that is something that you want to do. Samuel and Brandy Hastings are part of that team as well with Exit Prime Realty, and the best way to find out more is to just get on and Google Exit Prime Realty, Barry Richards, Rebecca Richards, Samuel, Brandy Hastings. You'll find out everything you need to know, and right now if you pull up Barry's social media page, you're going to find some price drops on a couple of homes right here in Springfield. They specialize in Robertson County properties because they have been here for 30 years, like myself. And so this is home, but they originally grew up in Kentucky. So they understand buying property across the state line, and they've worked all over. So they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties. So anything that you have going on, whether it's buying or selling, or if you want to be a realtor, the number to call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or 7424. Or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, and buy, B-U-Y, RobertsonCounty.com. And always please let them know U-Turn sent you. Talking to Ryan Martin, we're going to buzz through the rest of this stuff he has for us before Lee Marie hops in here.
Absolutely. Just a couple of quick things. First Friday events coming up in August. Want everybody to come out. The band and Tice will be playing. We also have the first ever called the Grind Skateboard Competition, going to take place at Garner Street Park. That's coming up. Big deal for the city. So we're excited about that. And we're still on, hopefully on target for a fire station to be our Fire Station 3, third fire station. We're working through construction plans on that and trying to work on the budget on that and the budget figures. I told the board last night we're not complete with that construction plan, but hopefully we're still on target to break ground this fall and get the third fire station underway. That's kind of been in the plans for 2 to 3 years now. So
very good. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, now I know Frederick Oliver is asking a question. I'll throw this at you, and we'll have to hit it next time because we're going to be out of time. He's wanting to know, how far is the city's right of way in the historic district? So I don't know what that is, but I'll throw that. Can you answer that quickly? Or
no.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
Because it's the historic district is unique. It's not it's not a new development. It's not a set 50-foot right of way.
Gotcha.
So property lines vary through there because some of that's 100 and 150 years old.
Okay.
It's
well,
a really
we were able
challenging
to answer that to some degree, but thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Reach out to Ryan if you have any questions, guys. His door's always open. Thank you, friend. God bless you. And he's on his way because I guarantee you he's got somewhere else he's got to be. So thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you guys joining us. Now, normally we'd have TriStar coming in tomorrow on the 4th Thursday. They asked that since we have another Thursday in July, they want to come in next month or next week. So they're going to be coming in. So we're going to have some adjustments to the schedule tomorrow. But other than that, we've got, should have Brian pulling in from United Way tomorrow. We'll be talking to him about all the things as we're getting back to school. That's the big focus. But stick around. We've got Lee Marie coming in here in just a moment with the Go Show. So stick around for another full hour of local programming right here on 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Have a great day.